busy with the military because I did that for 13 years.
Oh, really?
And then I left teaching a few years ago, and then my wife and I opened up the club because we were looking at youth wrestling and some of youth sports, and really happy with some of the energy that surrounds it. And being an educator and working with kids and loving that, I went, yeah, let's do it better.
Yeah.
And let's change the culture a bit.
So you're alive and you do very well.
Okay, we're live now? Yeah. Awesome. So I wanted to thank you today, Brendan, for coming in to talk about your career, talk about what you've done with Beat the Streets.
Sure.
So my biggest thing to you is you've been an athlete at an extremely high level wrestling D1. You've been a coach at an extremely high level wrestling D1, coaching D1 for Cal Poly, right? And then Columbia University as well.
Yeah, so as an assistant, it was UC Davis, University of Virginia, then as a head coach at Columbia, and then Cal Poly.
And then Cal Poly, so the Columbia and then Cal Poly. So a full wrestling career, kind of just doing coaching at some of the highest levels. And then you're the executive director for Beat the Streets for a total of 9 years, right?
Yeah, a little over 9.
A little over 9. So what is it about wrestling that hooked you and like is the center of kind of your career and your story, Brendan?
Yeah, it definitely goes back to being a kid and looking up to my older brother Greg Buckley, who and it starts before that. Even my oldest brother Brian, I was a little too young to probably remember when he first started wrestling. So he was really the one who first brought it into our family, and then my brother Greg ramped it up and wrestled in college. He was a state medalist in high school, and then he wrestled in college at Clemson. So yeah, just being a little kid, idolizing your brother and wanting to do what he did, but also just being exposed to the people, his friends, teammates, and it was just like as a kid growing up, just being exposed to it. And that was initially in New York. We used to live in Buffalo, and there's a strong wrestling culture throughout New York and certainly in upstate.
Yeah, this tri-state area, we actually really love wrestling.
Definitely. But that wasn't the case in Florida. So I'm fortunate that my brother Greg, started it in Buffalo because, in Florida, I mean, there's clearly has been, and now wrestling has really grown both in numbers and also just competitive quality in Florida. But, in Florida, people surf, they play a lot of football, play a lot of baseball. The weather lends itself to being outside all the time. Yeah. So, but yeah, once I did it, I just have this vivid memory in middle school. I didn't start wrestling at 5 years old. Just, again, wasn't really, I just didn't have those opportunities growing up.
When did you start wrestling?
We had a middle school tournament in 6th grade. You would practice 3 weeks at the high school that you would eventually compete.
Culminate to.
Yeah. And then in 7th grade, then I played soccer, and then in 8th grade did that tournament again.
Yeah.
So, again, fortunately, my brother Greg, I would be around him and go up to, just saw him. He wrestled at UCF, University of Central Florida. But it wasn't really till high school that I, was on any type of
so
team.
You're like so in the wrestling world, you were a bit of a late bloomer.
For sure.
Because everybody starts at 5 years old, they want their kids starting as soon as possible. Okay, so
for sure, yeah. I was playing football, I was playing baseball. I played a lot of baseball. I did some tennis. I did soccer. It wasn't. We just didn't. My friends weren't doing it. We just didn't have that kind of a culture in Orlando.
Well, working with youth so long, what are your thoughts on the appropriate age then? Because you've worked with youth for a long time.
Yeah, me and my friends think about it all the time. I'm hoping my son will develop a love for the sport, which
how old are your kids again?
8 and 5.
8 and 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's not a situation where he just loves it and wants to do it. I've just slowly brought him to practices occasionally, but it's definitely something I think about a lot. I think starting at 5. I brought him to his first practice at like 4. He was maybe 4.5. It was like right out of COVID and just needed something for him to do. And I don't think it was a mistake or anything, but for some people it works to start that early. I think for a lot it's just such an intense sport. It can still be done. There's nothing wrong with starting at that age. I think it's just a lot about the environment that he's in.
So what kind of environment do you think helps foster?
Just like at that age, just exposure, just the same kind of themes you hear from a lot of people, keeping it fun, focusing on the fundamentals. I'm not a big advocate for competing that early, but that's just my preference.
Brendan, as a coach also, and as a parent, my wife and I talk about it all the time. I talk about it with my coaching mentor all the time. I feel like competition's assessment. Like we're there to assess, especially at a young age. Like if you're competing, what have you been working on in the room, in practice? Are we trying to execute that when we go out to compete? Like that. I agree with you fully.
I just think it changes the dynamic, and it, more than anything, it changes the dynamic more for the parents and some coaches, to where that's the focus is on competition. When at that age, I like to equate a metric of success as whether they want to come back the next year. And if they want to come back, well, then you can incrementally build it up, But I think at 5, 6, 7, it's just about like having fun, like really looking forward to going to practice, and then also just developing some, awareness of their body and where they are in space, and developing physical confidence, doing gymnastic type abilities and jumping, and just learning how to move their body, as opposed to like, you got to do your single leg like this. Like you're still teaching, but I think more than anything, it's just getting them into the routine of learning how to use their body. Because at high levels of wrestling, it's not moves, it's positioning.
Yeah, knowing where to be. And like general physical preparation is kind of lacking because of sports specificity, like really early. Yeah. Like they specialize super early, and it's something we even talk about with our son. He does a little bit of soccer, he does wrestle. I have him in jiu-jitsu too, and we try and keep it fun. Like I own a club, but he's 10. I really don't care if he's like, I want him to be happy. Yeah. And wrestling has a hard retention rate. Like, and I think we do it to ourselves. Like, because, and I talk about this all the time, like wrestling's hard enough. I don't think we as coaches need to make it that much harder for the kid. You're out there fighting someone in the middle of a circle and getting beat up.
And everybody's looking at you.
Yeah, and everyone's looking at you. And you got to win on your own, and you got to lose on your own. And that's a lot for an adult, let alone a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Now, so you live in Jersey, and that means you commute to the city quite regularly, I imagine, right, for Beat the Streets. How often were you in like the city doing that? Because I worked in the city when I was young, and I did that commute on the train. So
yeah, pre-COVID, it was every day, and then we'd have competitions on the weekend. In the winter, it's definitely busier because we're in season, and there's middle school competitions and high school competitions, and but I was commuting a couple days a week, sometimes 3 days a week out of season, just depending on what I had going on. If I was meeting a board member, a donor, or a partner, it kind of depended. But definitely pre-COVID, we were in there every day. It was just a different, we also in the last couple of years secured a training facility, which kind of lended itself more to pulling kids to us, as opposed to us having to go out to all the different programs. So we still tried to do a little bit of both, like visiting programs, but we, for the first time in a long time, had really like a sense of ownership of our own facility. So kids wanted to come there. We had carte blanche use of the training center, as opposed to, for a number of years there, we were like getting permits at school DOE facilities, and you'd have it say for like a 2 or 3 hour block, and the custodian would be looking at his watch and giving you like the stink eye, or on a moment's notice we'd get an email saying, oh, we forgot to tell you there was a science fair that's going to be in. So anyways, getting that training center was really helpful, and kind of created the ability to draw a lot more kids to come to us.
How do you get that training? That's hard because you're in the city. So like real estate's expensive.
Oh yeah,
it's a pay. Like, what was that kind of process?
Yeah, I mean the challenge.
Actually,
that's the largest challenge for nonprofits in New York, or in any affluent city across the country where it's really expensive. We're competing against all these other tech firms and banks, and so we were real fortunate, and our program director Bob Seidel was at our event Final X a couple years ago, and at Final X at the after party was a couple people who purchased tickets to the event to support our benefit in Final X, and they were landlords, and so we shared with them that we were looking for space, or vice versa. He may have asked, and Bob built a good relationship with him, and then it was at a time too that we had spent a couple years looking at space, and it was just hard. It was just really expensive, and so they gave us an incredible deal. Those guys' names are Rigo Nagale and Brad Giambrone, and they work for a place called Briggs Construction, and really did us a solid. They both joined our board. They've been awesome.
How's your family with all this? Because this seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I think families.
So like when I'm thinking about it, so like pre-pandemic, which is about 5 years ago, right? So you have a 6 and an 8-year-old. So that's like they were like really young when you're commuting to the city every day. So that is a lot of sacrifice. Like, how does your family deal with that? Since you do a lot of community work.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, now it's been less so. I've definitely been home more, and just like, but there are a lot of times I brought the kids with me to wrestling events and programming days. But no, I've always had the support of a terrific wife, Julia. She's, as long as she's known me, I've been working at wrestling organizations as a coach. That was really tough.
Yeah.
And when I left coaching, that part of it was because we wanted to start a family, and so I didn't have to navigate that with kids, because that's really difficult. Just 5-6 a.m. workouts, traveling 2/3 or more of the year to either see recruits or going to events to recruit, or travel schedules, freestyle competitions, late night recruiting calls. Yeah. So
is that why you left?
Workouts.
Kind of
that was a big part of it. Yeah. And I had coached just shy of 2 decades, so I was just ready for
the next transition to be more of a leadership role. As a leader, what is like your leadership philosophy? How do you run an executive director is a big thing. How do you run? What's your leadership philosophy?
Yeah, I think we just try and stay focused on the mission.
What's the mission?
The mission is using wrestling to help kids achieve their goals on and off the mat. So it's we believe strongly in the power of wrestling, and try and, I think, remind the staff and just share some of the same messaging that we share with our kids. It's like, you reap what you sow, and if you want to achieve greatness and provide a really strong impact, you got to really, it takes a lot of work and teamwork. And I think if everybody is, fulfilling their responsibility, and you have a good team and people are on the same page with the same goals, then a lot of that kind of takes care of itself.
Yeah. Are there any, so since you've been doing this for Beat the Streets, you have a lot of kids who are, I imagine, from lower socioeconomic levels, utilizing this space, and you're helping. Are there any athletes in particular that are a standouts after your 9 years that you really reflect on of this is why I do this job,
Yeah, I mean, we had a kid this year, Omar Tunkara. He signed with Drexel, so he's wrestling at Drexel. He was won high school nationals twice, placed at the national prep tournament, All-American out in Fargo. I mean, he's really good, you know, whether he's beat the streets or if he's competing with kids who are also going to be competing in college and signing scholarships. So he's the most recent high-level kid we had. Last year, there were 2 state champs. One kid, Amir, went to Long Island University and LIU, and then Evan Gersoy committed to. He's going to be wrestling at Columbia in the fall. And then going back, we've had a couple who made the state finals. My first year with a guy who was our first large division state champion in New York, Brandon Nunez. He ended up wrestling at Rhode Island College. So, you know, we definitely are putting kids in a position where they can excel on the mat. Ultimately, that's not the mission, is to just pump out state champs. We'd love to do that. It would take a tremendous amount of resources, and that's just not, you know, our focus is equipping our kids with the skills, the traits, the characteristics that our sport brings out in people.
Are there any examples of like kids you feel like that happened with that aren't necessarily like, as you said, the mission isn't like to create this like RTC training facility for the best athletes in the tri-state area. It's about empowering kids. Are there any other kids that use this as a catalyst for other things?
Oh, sure.
You think were really meaningful?
Like we have a program called the Academy program. It's been running probably since like 2018, and its mission was really to provide kids like both high-level wrestling skill. We brought in Olympic gold medalists and Division I head coaches. We've had some of our alumni to teach on the mat portion of the day, but the other part of an academy day was bringing in a speaker on a life skill workshop, whether it was my wife is a cognitive behavioral psychologist, spoke about managing stress and mental support and such. But we had nutritionists come in and speak about nutrition. We had somebody come in from NYU and talk about college preparation. We had some alums talk about academic success. We had board members talk about goal setting. So we would build these life skill workshops. And so the kids who are graduating from that program, we've had 100% high school on-time graduation rate, 100% who are either enrolling in school or the military. So that's a pretty strong metric for this program. For sure.
You would say that's...
And don't get me wrong, we want state champs.
Yeah.
We're taking kids to competitions and we train in a way. It's just that like we're really trying to educate them holistically and provide them the skills they need when they leave. If they were able to get to the state tournament and earn a state medal, I mean, that's awesome. I think we'd rather have somebody who maybe didn't do that and then we find out that they are really being successful in their life, in a career, getting a good education, getting a career, successful, husband and father, and giving back to their community, than say a state medalist who then kind of squandered the opportunity after they left us.
Yeah, well, it's about building, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and we were saying that just the retention rate in wrestling alone is really difficult to keep kids sometimes because of the intensity. But when you have these other kids that you guys build up in a very communal way, ideally they go off and go, I was a state champ, but I hope I can help some kids try and achieve their dreams, which is a really beautiful thing to do. So we are now transitioning from doing Beat the Streets to now you're in Trenton, right? So why this transition? Why you're in Trenton now?
I was here almost 9.5 years, and I was ready for a change. Just new organization, new goals, but also a big part of it was also I was like looking at, all right, what is the next move? Is it going to be leading another nonprofit? Is it going to be? I was looking at like medical device sales and technology sales, and I come from a family of salesmen from father and brothers, and so, but I couldn't really. I was like, what am I going to do? So I was fully transparent with our leadership, and for about a year, and during that time, which was difficult, and like some of the advice. Couple guys, like one guy I coached at Columbia, was like, I think you got to really make your mind up about what industry you want. Like, it's hard to be looking at this industry and looking at that industry. And at that time, I had received a call from a buddy of mine, Zach Esposito, who's the...
Oh, Zach Esposito, I love him.
Yeah,
he does great wrestling, youth wrestling. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yes.
NCAA champ, coached at Oklahoma State for decades. Was at the Olympic Training Center. Now he's at NC State, and I'm very close friends with his older brother Dave Esposito, who used to coach with me at Columbia. And that I was looking to make a move, and asked if I had ever considered helping out a college wrestling program on the fundraising front. And as you know, and the college athletic landscape is just bursting at the seams right now with name, image, and likeness, and like it or not, it's going to have massive impact on college sports, especially on Olympic sports like wrestling. So we had discussed, chatted with him a little bit, and decided to try and help them out with their Olympic Regional Training Center, the Wolfpack RTC. And then I just took it upon myself to just start calling a variety of different college coaches, and spoke with Sean Bormet at Michigan and Scott Goodale at Rutgers. And it's a rapidly changing landscape. I mean, sometimes there's rules that come out that could be completely different 2-3 weeks later, and then you have to bob and weave. So I was feeling really good about the opportunities there, but it just wasn't. I wasn't in a position to just do that exclusively. So. With the support of Dr. Mark McLaughlin, who's the chair of the board at Trenton Youth Wrestling, I'm going to be able to build out this business on the side, which is called Pinpoint Strategies, to try and help college wrestling programs, high school wrestling programs, also just nonprofits in the city, as a result of just all the experience I acquired from being a college wrestling coach for 23 years and leading a nonprofit for more than 9, like running events and cultivating alumni, running campaigns, monthly giving, digital fundraising. And so, it really, things kind of came together in the last couple months, and really excited about the new opportunities at both Trenton Youth Wrestling, and then to build out this consultancy.
What do you think your first big thing at Trenton Youth Wrestling is going to be, like, with them?
Certainly on the fundraising side, just like they want to run, this is their 10th year, so they're going to be celebrating a 10-year anniversary. So that marks a really terrific opportunity to celebrate their brand and the success of the organization and what the board and staff have done. And I think, get to know the board really well and determine, and again, I'm just going to kind of follow the lead of Mark and the board, but do they want to grow the board or add new people, partnerships, kind of develop and create some new partnerships. They want to secure a large dynamic training facility and center for their operations. So that's really cool. They're trying to do even have a large nutritional element and health and wellness where there's urban farming, and so that's really cool too.
That's really dope. My wife and I are big. We're basically farmers. We're my wife has 30 raised beds. We got probably 25 chickens.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're hippies on the food end.
Nice.
Especially with wrestling. Wrestling's I discuss this with my mentor Gerard all the time. The nutritional part is like how you eat. Fighting the scale is the dumbest opponent to give yourself before you actually fight someone. That's the worst person to fight. that's deeply internal, that doesn't get you ready for the thing, you know. So that's really awesome. Is there any advice you would give to anybody who's working in nonprofit sector or the fundraising end from your kind of years of experience? Like how to
I think just to embrace it. Even like I see a lot of college coaches that don't like doing it. I mean, not so much anymore because it's just you won't survive right now if you're not embracing and really looking at opportunities to drive more revenue for your program. But I know historically, if you go back, even as recent as 10 years ago or 15 years ago, a lot of just we're a sport where it's just you're so hands-on, like wrestling, you're on the mat, right? I mean, I'm sure with your kids, you're teaching,
I'm on the mat.
You're teaching moves or like, you don't see that in others. I mean, that's the beauty of wrestling, but sometimes it almost like. I think some people look at us and think like we're crazy, and we are a little crazy.
Yeah, I think we grew up. We want to wrestle still.
You don't see like basketball coaches out there like having live games with the guys that they're coaching. You just don't. So like I think now we're in this different environment where wrestling and the Olympic sports are very well aware like what it's going to take to, for some programs, maybe in some conferences, like not just, you got to learn to thrive, and it's just a challenging reality right now. So I think for nonprofits, just the same as like, so it's hard asking people for money, but I think I've always looked at it more as like, it's about a lot of things. It's about goal setting, and you have this vision of where you want to get to, a destination, whether it's you're any kind of a coach, you're a youth coach or you're a college coach or you're a CEO, right? You're casting this vision. When you're a nonprofit, you're not selling any products. Like there's only one way to really get there, and that's philanthropy. Whether you're designing programs that you can apply for grants from different foundations, but for a lot of it, it's cultivating donors and establishing relationships. And so I think just embracing how important that is to your success is just a reality.
Well, at the end of the day, like, a nonprofit's a business. And what are you selling? And sometimes you're selling programming, and that is what you're selling. And I think some people need to realize that if you think of it a little bit as a business in that way, that is kind of how it functions. You have to have money in, money out. And if you don't have any money coming in, you can't do it. It's hard to do good work.
Yeah.
Because you do have to pay people for their time. They need livelihoods. Like you have a family that you have to take care of.
Yeah.
So my last question for you: what is the legacy that you would like to leave, just as Brendan Buckley? What is your legacy as like an individual who works in the community?
Yeah, haven't really thought about it a whole lot. Just somebody who, tried to help people, who, worked hard and wanted to create opportunities for other people, and really just preach about, like how much what you learned on the mat as a wrestler, or for people who didn't participate in the sport, just like having a passion for whatever it is that you do, and just like wanting to make a difference, and wanting to make things better than when you you want to leave it better than where you picked it up. Like I think that's a definition of progress is like, are we better now? And I think if you think about that when you're leading or when you're doing whatever the work is, like you're just trying to make things better.
Awesome. Brendan, I wanted to thank you again for coming here today and sitting with us on the Community Corner. I thought it was especially important when Leo connected me with you to highlight some of the work you've done in our community, because you've brought kids together, you've brought mentors that I imagine, and working in the teaching sector, have saved some kids' lives in really meaningful and beautiful ways. So from the community, I just want to specifically thank you for all the work you do and the work that you're going to continue to do in Trenton, because I know it's meaningful and beautiful and important. So thank you, Brendan.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you having me, Nick.